One moment she was skipping home from a friend's house, and then, she vanished. For 10 days, her small California town searched desperately, until a black suitcase surfaced in a pond, and revealed a horror no one was prepared for. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Noir Crime 88. We upload new true crime documentaries every second day, uncovering real stories of innocence, betrayal, and justice. Now, let's step into one of the darkest cases to ever shake a peaceful neighborhood, the murder of Sandra Cantu. It was March 27, 2009, in the quiet town of Tracy, California, a place where kids rode bikes freely, parents left doors unlocked, and everyone knew everyone. But that illusion of safety shattered the day 8-year-old Sandra Cantu disappeared. She'd been playing outside her home in the Orchard Estates mobile home park, laughing, skipping, and waving at neighbors. Her mother, Maria Chavez, had seen her daughter just minutes before she vanished. It was supposed to be an ordinary Friday evening. Sandra had plans. She was going to play with her friend next door, then come home for dinner. But she never came back. When she didn't return by sunset, Maria began to worry. She called her daughter's friends. No one had seen her. By 7:30 p.m., panic replaced worry, and she called the Tracy Police Department. What began as a missing child case soon spiraled into one of the most haunting investigations in California's history. Sandra Cantu was born on March 8, 2001. She was the youngest of 4 children, loved by everyone who knew her. Her teachers described her as bright, sweet, and full of energy. She loved Hannah Montana, drawing, and spending time outdoors with friends. The Orchard Estates mobile park where she lived wasn't fancy, but it was safe. It was the kind of place where kids played outside until dark, and parents waved to each other from porches. Sandra often visited her best friend's house right across the street. She'd skip between homes with her little backpack bouncing behind her, carefree and trusting. But in that same close-knit community, there was someone watching. Someone Sandra already knew. Someone she thought she could trust. At around 3 p.m., Sandra left her home to play at a neighbor's house. A surveillance camera at the mobile home park's gate captured her, a tiny girl in a pink Hello Kitty shirt and black leggings, happily skipping down the street. That footage would be the last time she was ever seen alive. When Sandra didn't return home that evening, her mother began searching the neighborhood, calling her name, knocking on doors. Neighbors joined in. Within an hour, the police were notified, and soon the community mobilized, flashlights, dogs, search teams combing through every inch of the area. The entire town of Tracy came together, believing she might have wandered off or gotten lost. But as hours turned into days, that hope began to fade. For 10 long days, hundreds of volunteers, officers, and FBI agents searched fields, canals, and buildings. Posters with Sandra's smiling face appeared everywhere. Helicopters scanned from above. The police even drained parts of the nearby irrigation canals. The community prayed for a miracle, that maybe she was alive, maybe someone had taken her but she'd come home safe. Even local churches held vigils. And among those attending, was a Sunday school teacher named Melissa Huckaby, Sandra's neighbor, and a friend of the family. Melissa was 28 years old, a single mother to a 5-year-old girl who often played with Sandra. She appeared devastated, crying, praying, handing out flyers. No one suspected her of anything. Not yet. On April 6, 2009, 10 days after Sandra vanished, a farm worker called police. He had found a black suitcase floating in an irrigation pond just a few miles from the trailer park. When officers opened it, their worst fears were confirmed. Inside was the body of Sandra Cantu. The medical examiner's report later revealed she had been sexually assaulted, drugged, and suffocated before being stuffed into the suitcase. It was every parent's nightmare. But the horror was only beginning, because when police traced where that suitcase came from, they found something that sent chills through the entire department. The suitcase was identified as belonging to Melissa Huckaby. At first, detectives thought it had to be a mistake. Melissa was a trusted figure in the community, a teacher at the local church, a mother, someone who had even joined the search for Sandra. But the clues started stacking up quickly. The day after Sandra went missing, Melissa had gone to the police herself, reporting that a suitcase had been stolen from her driveway. At the time, it seemed random. Now, it looked like a cover story. Detectives searched the Clover Road Baptist Church, where Melissa taught Sunday school, and what they found there would confirm their darkest suspicions. Inside the church, a rolled-up piece of carpet contained blood matching Sandra's DNA. In the kitchen area, they discovered a bottle of sedatives, and surveillance footage showed Melissa driving to the very pond where the suitcase was later found. When questioned, Melissa's behavior became erratic. She gave inconsistent statements, claiming at one point that Sandra had visited her home and accidentally died, and that she had panicked. But her story didn't match the evidence. Finally, the truth came out, and it was beyond comprehension. Melissa Huckaby wasn't the kind of person you'd expect to commit such an atrocity. She came from a respected family, her grandfather was the pastor of the local church. She was educated, polite, and known for helping with Sunday school and kids' activities. But beneath that wholesome image was a deeply disturbed woman. Melissa had a history of mental illness, self-harm, and erratic behavior. She had been hospitalized several times for psychological issues and was known to manipulate those around her with emotional outbursts. Police found in her possession a notebook where she had written disturbing messages about sin, guilt, and purity. And on the day Sandra disappeared, her cell phone data placed her near the location where the suitcase was later dumped. When confronted with the mountain of evidence, the blood, the DNA, the surveillance, Melissa finally confessed. Melissa Huckaby confessed to kidnapping and murdering 8-year-old Sandra Cantu. In her statement, she claimed Sandra had come to her trailer to play with her daughter. She said she panicked after something went wrong, though the exact details of what went wrong remain unclear and deeply disturbing. She admitted to drugging the little girl with sedatives, assaulting her, and then placing her in the suitcase before dumping it into the pond. Her reasons were incoherent, ranging from jealousy, emotional instability, and alleged loss of control. The court would later describe it as a senseless act of evil. The confession devastated the entire community. No one could understand how someone so trusted, a neighbor, a teacher, a mother, could do something so monstrous. Melissa Huckaby was charged with kidnapping, rape with a foreign object, and murder with special circumstances, crimes eligible for the death penalty. But before the trial could begin, in a shocking twist, Melissa accepted a plea deal. She pled guilty to first-degree murder and kidnapping, in exchange for the other charges being dropped. Her plea spared her the death penalty but guaranteed a sentence of life in prison without parole. During her sentencing in 2010, Melissa broke down in tears, saying, "I cannot fathom the pain I have caused. I wish I could take it all back. But no words could heal the wound she left behind." Sandra's mother, Maria, sat silently in the courtroom, clutching a photo of her daughter, her face hollow, her eyes dry from too many tears. When asked if she forgave Melissa, she said softly, "I forgive her because I have to live with myself. But I'll never forget what she did." The community of Tracy was never the same again. Parents who once let their children roam freely now kept them indoors. The church where Melissa taught Sunday school was shut down for months, unable to erase the darkness that had unfolded inside its walls. A memorial garden was built in Sandra's honor, filled with sunflowers, her favorite flower. Each year, on March 27th, residents gather there to release balloons and remember her short but beautiful life. Maria Chavez, Sandra's mother, later founded a nonprofit focused on child safety awareness, ensuring no other family has to endure what hers did. The Sandra Cantu case shook not only California but the entire nation. It became a reminder that evil doesn't always come from strangers lurking in the dark, sometimes, it lives next door, behind familiar smiles. Law enforcement agencies across the U.S. began reviewing their missing child protocols, improving Amber Alert response times, and implementing community safety programs. Her story continues to serve as both a warning and a call to action, to never take safety for granted, and to always trust your instincts. Sandra Cantu's story is one that no one should ever forget. She was a child full of light, taken by the very person who should have protected her. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe to Noir Crime 88. We upload new true crime documentaries every second day, telling the real stories of victims whose voices still deserve to be heard. Because behind every headline, there's a human story. And at Noir Crime 88, we make sure it's never forgotten.